Youth is a happy time and a carefree time. A time of auto rides and double dates. It's a time of fun, of pranks and jokes, of ice cream cones and chocolate sodas. Youth is a time for getting a job, for finding one's place in the world. But sometimes in these troubled days, the very thoughtlessness of youth has led to a living nightmare. Addiction to drugs, too often acquired with tragic carelessness, may take control of a life and force actions not dreamed of before. To these addicts, life's only work is to find money for drugs. In their desperation, no means is too foul. Their only goal in life is to keep the deadening chemicals forever in their heart's blood. The cause of this living death is a white powder, innocent looking, but deadly. Once this was a poppy growing in Italy or Turkey or some other hot land. The dried juice of this plant produces opium, a powerful drug. Contained in opium is morphine, used by doctors to relieve severe pain. From morphine comes heroin, outlawed even medically from the United States. These and other derivatives form the group of drugs called opiates. Opiates are classed as depressants. An overdose causes unconsciousness, then death. A smaller dose, taken into the bloodstream, inhibits all the functions of the body by its action on the brain and the central nervous system. But the body gradually builds up a tolerance to the drug. More and more is needed to produce the same effects. After continued use, the body acquires a physical dependence on opiates, so that withdrawal of the drug causes a brief but violent illness until the body can make a readjustment. Another depressant is marijuana, derived from the hemp plant. It inhibits and distorts the action of the brain and nervous system in a manner somewhat different from opiates. A third drug, cocaine, is derived from the leaves of the coca plant. Its action is different from that of the depressants. When cocaine enters the body, it has a strong effect on body functions by acting as an irritant on the brain. Cocaine causes unusual and often unpredictable feelings and actions. Instead of physical dependence, marijuana and cocaine cause profound mental and emotional disturbances. A large overdose of cocaine causes convulsions, then death. Government agencies charged with the enforcement of narcotics laws have been able until recently to decrease steadily the number of addicts in the United States. These addicts have included persons in every walk of life. Some are petty criminals who will remain drug addicts all their lives. Many addicts come from teeming slum areas where human misery runs high. But the grim specters of heroin, marijuana, and cocaine are not confined to any area or to any group. Wherever there is a troubled personality, no matter how hidden or unrecognized, there may be a seedbed for drug addiction. So unpredictable is this habit that occasionally even one who knows the dangers may become addicted before he realizes it. Sometimes the addict may come from a wealthy family, where drugs respect neither riches nor poverty. Such a victim doesn't have to steal to support his expensive habit, but the degrading effects are the same. In recent years, there has been a shocking increase in drug addiction among young people, often in their teens, who take up the habit without the slightest understanding of the living nightmare they are so unthinkingly walking into. To get the illegal drugs, they are forced to deal with criminals who prey on those least able to defend themselves. And to find money for their expensive habit, they often turn to crime themselves.
Under his foot, and I found this envelope with 6 caps in it. Here's a chemical lab report on it. It's heroin.
What do you have to say, Demelon? Let's see your arms. How long have you been taking heroin?
Well,
Speak up.
About 2 years, I guess.
What about before then?
Well, I smoked marijuana for a while.
How long?
4 or 5 months, I guess.
How did you get started on this?
Well, I don't know. A friend of mine, he started me.
Started by a friend. An oft-told story. For drug addiction is contagious. One addict can make 5. 5 can make 25. Marty's story is like many of the others. It started 2 years ago with marijuana cigarettes.
Come on, it's my turn next. Gee, Duke, where'd you get them?
I know a guy.
3 for $1.
Let me try. Gee, I feel awful funny.
Me too. I feel kind of sick.
Come on, Marty, pass it on.
Marty got kind of sick too, but he wouldn't let on. He was determined to be one of the gang if it killed him. And it almost did. Several weeks later, after smoking reefers, Marty's befogged brain hit on a clever way to open pop bottles. Later, Stan went to the hospital for swallowing broken glass. Marty badly cut the inside of his mouth, though he didn't even know it at the time. Duke was the one who got Marty on the habit. It was just a business matter to Duke, though Marty didn't find it out till later.
Hey, Marty. Here. Okay, here.
What's that?
H.
H? What's H?
That's a lot.
It's heroin. Will it make me sick like the reefers did?
Go on and try it.
I dare you. How much does it cost?
This one ain't gonna cost you nothing. It's free. Go on.
I dare you.
In his ignorance, Marty took that dare, little knowing the eventual horror that lay in the deadly white powder. Those first capsules were free. But when Marty started asking for them, the price came high. $1.50 apiece.
That's right, kid. $15. This ought to hold me for a while. I hooked my camera to get this, though.
Where's my cut?
You don't get one. This kid's hooked. Go out and get some new kids if you want to cut.
He's still snorting it.
So what? Snorting or mainlining, what's the difference? He's hooked.
Hey, look, I gotta have my cut. It's costing me more than ever now that I'm on speedballs. That cocaine comes high.
That's your problem, kid. So, you're snorting it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, don't be a sucker. You're wasting it that way. Use a needle. Is that what you do, Louis? Listen, kid, I ain't on the stuff. Don't ever think I am.
Yeah, sure. Like I'm doing it, see? Mainlining it.
Don't it hurt?
Yeah, sure, some. I guess that vein will give out someday. But the stuff costs too much to waste it.
That's right, kid. You ought to go on the needle. Ah, I don't want to punch myself full of holes like that.
But he did use the needle, despite his fear of it. At first, he shot the drug under his skin, then directly into the vein. As his body gradually built up a tolerance, he needed more and more of the drug. There was no pleasure in it for Marty. It was a bodily demand. He was using 4 or 5 caps a day now, They cost him $7.50, $52.50 a week. It was more than his salary at the store could pay for. But he was wrong. Barston didn't prosecute, but Marty no longer had a job. Drugs were becoming Marty's whole life. He was abnormally sleepy, losing weight, cross, irritable, fearful that the puncture marks on his arms would be discovered. His former friends now let him strictly alone. But with a false sense of loyalty, they didn't report him to the authorities. They would have done him a favor if they had. The only associates left from Marty were other drug addicts like Duke. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered but the ever-present craving for the drugs. He had given up interest in everything else. Marty's family saw all of these symptoms and others too, but didn't understand them. Often in the morning, his pillow would be wet from perspiration. His mother knew something was wrong. Something.
Marty, have you seen the pinking shears I bought last week? Can't seem to find them anywhere.
How should I know, Mom?
Marty, you don't seem right, son. I'm worried about you.
I'm all right, Mom. Just leave me alone.
There's something wrong. I'm going to take you down to Dr. Bleeker's this afternoon for a checkup.
No. No, I'm all right.
Well, you don't act like it, son. I don't know what it could be. Ever since you lost that job at Mr. Barston. I don't know.
I'm all right, Mom. I'll snap out of it.
I hope so. You've lost weight. You don't have dates. You don't go out with the fellas anymore like you used to. There's something wrong. I know there must be. Well, boys go through all kinds of stages. Dr. Bleeker can tell us if there's anything wrong. I hope it isn't anything serious. Marty! Marty!
Marty was hooked, physically dependent on heroin. When he was without white powder too long, his whole body revolted in dreadful protest. Sweat poured from him. He got the shakes. He had cold chills. His nose ran and his eyes ran. He was doubled up by piercing cramps, plagued by sudden attacks of vomiting and of diarrhea. Nothing could stop these attacks but more of the white drug in his veins.
All right, kid. Beat it. I don't want you hanging around here.
Okay. Give me a chance.
Hitting it tough, huh?
None of your business.
Okay. That's the way you feel about it? I was just trying to help you out, that's all.
Yeah. You wouldn't help your mother out of a rat hole.
How would you like to make a fast couple of bucks?
Doing what?
Oh, it's easy. Nothing to it. I could use some new customers.
Customers? You mean suckers.
I'll give you the same cut I gave Duke.
What happened to him?
Oh, he's brought in everybody he knows. I gotta branch out.
Well, I could use the dough at that.
Fine. Start him out on reefers. It's easier that way, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, that's the way I started. You got him?
Sure. For you, 2 bits apiece.
Well, give me 2 for now. That's all the dough I got. Right now.
So Marty went out to spread his contagion. And Louis, well, it was just business to him. The capsules of heroin, so necessary to Marty, were only so much stock to Louis. That stock had reached him through a series of well-organized underworld transactions. Some months back, smuggled ashore in a box of fresh-caught fish, were a number of small tubes of pure heroin, 1 kilogram in all, a little more than 2 pounds. Originally bought for $1,000, it was resold after being smuggled into this country for $7,000. It was mixed with a similar-looking white powder, milk sugar, and sold again for $30,000. These were big business transactions possible only by organized criminal syndicates. Many believe such syndicates, in a cold-blooded scheme to create a market for their drugs, are directly responsible for the sudden growth of drug addiction among young people. By the time Louis Legsy got it, the heroin had been cut many times, passed through many hands. he cut it again and put it up in capsules. There was less than 3% heroin in those capsules. The underworld made more than $250,000 on the original $1,000 investment. Big stakes, worth taking a few chances for, especially when Pusher Louie would take the rap. But even Louie wasn't taking much of a chance. He had junkies, dope addicts, working for him, like Marty Demelon. Marty had to keep going somehow to bring in the daily flow of money necessary to keep his habit supplied with drugs. When there were no new customers for Louie, Marty worked at any job he could find. But the jobs didn't last long. Often he had to turn to petty thieving and shoplifting to get the money he so desperately needed. Before long, he became fairly well known to the police.
Mrs. Demelon, do you have anything to say?
Yes, Judge. Marty, he isn't a bad boy. I wish you could have seen him before he started this poison. He always made good grades at school. He was doing so well at Mr. Barston's grocery. Judge, he's a good boy.
I understand. Demelon, I believe you acquired the drug habit through ignorance. If you knew then what you know now, you probably never would have touched that first marijuana cigarette. Well, there's no way of undoing it now. I'm going to sentence you to 1 year in the municipal jail. However, I'll suspend sentence if you're willing to be committed to a hospital for the treatment of drug addicts and stay there until medically discharged.
You mean to try to kick the habit?
That's right. They know how to get you over the physical dependence with the least amount of withdrawal sickness. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
All right, so ordered. Next case.
For those already addicted to drugs, the first step in rehabilitation must be commitment to a hospital where they will be under medical guidance. For the addict willing to be committed or sent by the courts, there are federally operated hospitals. Adequate local hospitals would help to cope with this problem. The treatment itself lasts for months, but withdrawing the drug, the major problem is helping the addict achieve a workable psychological adjustment to life, a life which doesn't include drugs. It's a difficult procedure. No hospital, no doctor can be sure of success in trying to change long-time attitudes. Back in his old haunts, the former addict still finds himself shunned by all but the addicts and peddlers who were his associates before. For effective treatment, there must be a long-term, community-wide program to help the former addict and his family make an adjustment.
Beat it, Duke. I want no part of you.
Don't be a square. What's it getting you?
I don't know yet, Duke. I took plenty to kick the habit. It's my chance, and I'm taking it.
Chance? You ain't got no chance. You're just a junkie to everybody around here.
I know. But they helped me get a job in here. And they went to see Ma. And the doc says that if
Doc says? What does he know? Listen, I'm telling you.
No, cut it.
Against such pressures, local outpatient clinics, social agencies, the church, all are needed if drug addicts are to adjust to a new life. Without intensive effort by all community forces, very few drug addicts can ever expect to return to a normal, useful life in society. It is important in the overall problem of drug addiction to do everything possible to stop the sale of the drugs. One step would be to increase the staff of enforcement agencies, not only federal, but state and municipal agencies too. Criminal syndicates might give up drug traffic entirely if nationwide laws provided for stringent penalties to counteract the tremendous profits, and if these laws were energetically enforced. Certainly such laws would restrict the actions of non-addict peddlers like Louis Legte and make it harder for him to reach his victims. Basic to everything else is a wider knowledge, especially among young people, of the grave danger involved in any kind of experimentation with drugs. They should understand the thoughtless curiosity about what it feels like to smoke marijuana or take a shot of heroin can lead to a lifetime of pain and torment, constantly faced by the horror of being without drugs. Much can be done to stamp out this vicious, if each person who knows of a drug peddler or a drug addict reports him to the authorities immediately as a deadly menace to himself and his friends. For every person must take some of the responsibility for preventing the growth of drug addiction. He must face the possibility that he himself may be a potential drug addict. Only by avoiding these drugs completely can he be sure that he will remain forever safe from a vicious habit which enslaves not only one's body, but the soul as well.
Documentary TV.
This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. New Jersey is under siege.
All we do is pull the trigger. That's that murder.
By a ruthless gang.
They're saying sex, money, murder. Sex I get, money I make, murder I commit.
They flash cash.
The best clothes, the best cars, the most amount of jewelry got the girls that had the most respect.
We got a pride. Our big dog got a swag that can't be broken.
And deal in death.
Killings, shootings, all kinds of shit. It started popping off.
They are sex, money, murder.
It was like Baghdad. You better had came outside with your gun.
Trenton, New Jersey. This blue-collar city was once known by the slogan, "What Trenton makes, the world takes." But today, the city's unemployment rate is 17%, among the highest in the state.
Trenton makes, the world takes. It don't mean to me. Like, it's just the bridge. Since I've been born, they ain't make
Drug dealing has replaced manufacturing as the primary industry.
Heroin, crack cocaine, and marijuana are your big money makers out there. And they're also selling PCP. It's all about drugs.
The most notorious dealers in Trenton are sex, money, murder. SMM.
Either get down or lay down. Either you get down with the gang or you're not going to be selling.
SMM isn't satisfied with just dealing. They want to own the trade, and they'll kill anyone who gets in their way.
Sex, money, murder likes to take it to the next level.
Sex, money, murder sells heroin, marijuana, crack, and cocaine, and has turned dealing into an illegal empire.
The Trenton sex, money, murder set is different. It was able to generate enough income through narcotic sales that they're able to resist outside trends and outside leadership.
35-year-old Bernard Porter, a.k.a. OG Byrne, is a leader of sex, money, murder. His body tells the story of the streets of Trenton.
I got an ace of spade on this side of my neck. Got that when I was kind of young too, when I first started shooting that. And I got 3 teardrops. And they not for no bodies. They're actually for lost loved ones. Trenton on my back.
Byrne grew up in one of the roughest hoods in the city.
You know, bad boys, bad girls, crackheads, you know. Everybody wanted the same thing, money, clothes, and hoes.
He knew he had to be tough to get respect. Byrne was just 14 when he stole his grandfather's gun to settle a dispute at school.
got beat up by this grown man down in junior high school. And he had me so mad because he embarrassed me in front of everybody. I pulled the gun out, tried to shoot at him. The first shot went off, but after that, the clip just fell out. I ain't shoot him or nothing, he just ran.
Byrne liked the authority the gun provided.
The power that the gun had, like that type of control, it was like getting high. It was like a rush, like, you know. All I need is this ratchet.
By 25, he wanted more. And only one gang could deliver.
Sex, Money, Murder, the name stood for itself. It was really just a money gang. Like, that's what they was about at the end of the day. That money, that bread.
Attitude has made Sex, Money, Murder the fastest growing gang in Trenton.
And you Sex, Money, Murder, you got free things from the weed, man. You got all the girls, your name ring bells, you could go anywhere because of that reason.
We have females all around us, you know, money all around us, jewelry, the life.
34-year-old Early Harrell has been a member of Sex, Money, Murder for 8 years. Harrell changed his name to Almighty Blood Messiah to show his allegiance to the gang.
The Almighty Blood Messiah, you know, that's my name, that's my handle, that's my job, that's everything, you know.
He joined Sex, Money, Murder in jail. The gang's leaders schooled him on the life of SMM.
Like, they was telling me that you have to study the law, you have to be 95% mental, 15% physical. You gotta get out of here because you gotta paint the town red.
When Messiah got out of jail, he returned to Trenton with a mission.
That's when I started my breeding process.
He had no trouble finding recruits.
A young person in Trenton, New Jersey, why would he join a gang? Why not? If he walk out the door, that's all he see. You know what I mean? Either gangs, drug dealing. If you're selling drugs, you better be part of the gang.
500 members strong, SMM has become the largest gang in Trenton, making countless enemies along the way. The only gang brutal enough to take them on face to face is the gangsta Killer Bloods, known as G-Shine.
Sex, Money, Murder, and G-Shine comprised of the most members, so naturally there's gonna be a conflict.
If you were in Sex, Money, Murder, you were making money. You controlled all the best drug turf, and G-Shine started to, I guess, resent that.
The war between Sex, Money, Murder, and G-Shine has raged for years.
Like, you know, they were shooting every day, and it got real bad to the point where people were shooting in broad daylight.
In 2006, one act of reckless violence would cross the line and throw the city of Trenton into a tailspin. March 29th, West Trenton. 23-year-old Sex, Money, Murder member Reginald Jackson, a.k.a. Hamburger, decided to take the fight to G-Shine.
We up, stock them out, shoot them up, all types of
He collected 130 single-dollar bills and drove to the rival hood, where he started tossing money out of his car. Hamburger paused to make sure his rivals saw who was disrespecting them.
And he drives through the neighborhood throwing these singles and just throwing money at them, which insulted them, obviously.
G-Shine wanted revenge. 2 days later, they loaded into a pickup truck and headed for SMM territory.
Driving past projects where Sex Money Murder hangs out, pickup truck is being driven by what they believe is a G-Shine member.
When Sex Money Murder saw their rivals, they didn't hesitate, lighting up the street with a hail of gunfire. One of the bullets missed its target and careened across the street.
And not looking to see that Tajanique Lee, this little 7-year-old girl who was enjoying the day riding her bicycle.
911, where's the emergency?
Yes, 209 building. The little girl is a little girl. They got shot downstairs.
How little is the girl, baby?
Oh, she's like 5.
She like 5. That's a 5-year-old that got shot over here on police.
That flipped everything in the city in terms of raising up the volume.
You break rules, you gotta get dealt with. You gotta get disciplined.
Trenton, New Jersey. The 609 was once famous for making the iron, rubber, and steel used to build America.
Trenton was a manufacturing town. I mean, Roebling Steel and the steel mills that were here.
But those industries are gone. Today, drugs are the business of these streets. And the gang calling the shots is Sex Money Murder.
Sex Money Murder was about the drug dealers. They were the guys that were selling crack cocaine and marijuana.
We was like, we had it all. Money, bitches, we had blocks, we had everything we wanted. Everything.
Sex Money Murder was formed 80 miles northeast at the Soundview Houses in the Bronx, New York. Soundview was notorious for poverty, crime, and drug sales. SMM's founder, Peter Rolak, aka Pistol Pete, called these projects home. Pistol Pete got his nickname because he shot first and asked questions later. Dwight Blackney, aka Star Money, grew up with Pete and says he was like a celebrity in Soundview.
He was above your average person. That's how people saw him. He seemed to glow more than your average person.
Pistol Pete assembled his homies and set out to make a name for his hood.
If your area is not heard of, or your group is not heard of, then you can't go nowhere else in the Bronx.
Pistol Pete based the gang's name on a song from the movie Juice.
Some of the words had something to do with get money from crack, get, sex from a woman. So he was like, all right, well, we gonna be the Sex Money Murder boys. We Sex Money Murder.
Pistol Pete wanted to rise above everyone else.
He required the same from his crew.
Word came down through him that if any crimes, any drugs, it would always be a level above everyone else to set them apart.
Pistol Pete taught his crew to be ultra-violent and even encouraged something he called the wet t-shirt contest.
The wet t-shirt contest is to see how bad you can slice, stab, gouge somebody, shoot them as many times as you want. If you can soak the whole t-shirt in blood, now you're being accepted by Pistol Pete and the followers.
His reputation was raw, like it was gangster. He was, big time drug dealer, highly feared amongst all kinds of other drug dealers.
In 1995, Pistol Pete was sentenced to 8 months on a weapons charge. He was sent to New York City Jail on Rikers Island. There, he met Omar Porti, aka OG Mac, who had recently formed the United Blood Nation. Mac asked Pistol Pete to bring Sex Money Murder into the nation. Pete agreed with one condition. Sex Money Murder would remain an independent set, and Pistol Pete would remain its leader.
He had built this very large, violent gang, and there was no reason for him to give that up.
Pistol Pete continued to lead Sex Money Murder from behind bars. But federal authorities were working on a racketeering indictment against him. Pete wasn't about to be snitched on. November 27th, 1997, the Bronx, New York. Neighbors had gathered for an annual Thanksgiving tradition.
It was an annual football game between the two housing projects, kind of bringing the community together.
Just after halftime, a group of men walked up and unloaded a dozen shots on the field. 2 men were killed, including a member of SMM. The feds intercepted coded messages from jail and charged Pistol Pete with ordering the hits.
From the time he got originally arrested to the time that football game had occurred, he still has powerful street creds.
On November 8th, 2000, Pistol Pete was sentenced to life plus 105 years. The judge made sure there was no possibility of parole and limited Pete's contact with the outside world. Pistol Pete instantly became a martyr.
Pete up. They're oathing themselves to their casket drop to their death. And in the name of Pete, I rise. It's like their demigod.
He was gangster to me the most when he was able to stand down and take 105 years plus life. That's super gangster.
Man, you gotta represent for Pete.
When you have people from other gangs looking at Sex Money Murder like, I want to be Sex Money Murder, man. Everything else.
In 2001, Messiah was serving jail time at Passaic County Jail in New Jersey for drug possession. He heard about Pete's reputation and decided to join the gang.
For a young cat to have that kind of respect in New York City, let alone everywhere else, that had these people from all over, not only afraid, but respectably afraid.
And another new leader was emerging on the streets of Trenton. 27-year-old Bernard Porter, AKA OG Byrne.
He's very soft-spoken. He's actually shorter than you would expect from hearing all the legends about him, but he was a boxer. He had that reputation. He could defend himself. He could take care of business.
The basic thing to do was to get these niggas to unite, to get everybody up under one line. That way, everybody on the same page. Nobody get treated unfairly.
SMM began to thrive.
We got everything running right. Wasn't on no bullshit. We had lawyer money. We'll make sure they had a couple of dollars in their pocket, get their hustle together, whatever the case may be. Protect yourself if you need a gun.
By 2004, Sex Money Murder had more than 100 members in Trenton, making them the biggest gang in the city.
Documentary TV.
Quietly, they began working to take over the city's drug territory.
The whole Bloods gang thing was very under wraps, and nobody was flagging their colors. They weren't doing the graffiti for the Bloods. They were just working together cooperatively.
To the officials and the politicians in the city of Trenton, there was no gang problem.
That changed in March 2004, when Sean Barr, AKA Denver Lane, was gunned down in a local park.
Sean Barr was kind of a larger-than-life kind of guy. You heard his name a lot associated with the Bloods.
Denver Lane had served in the U.S. Navy. His murder shocked the city of Trenton.
Immediately after he was killed, the entire perimeter of the park, the entire sidewalk, was tagged up with Bloods graffiti. That was the flashpoint for the Bloods gang in the city of Trenton.
Trenton PD announced a plan to monitor the funeral. Sex Money Murder was furious at the sudden police scrutiny.
They was talking about coming to the funeral with riot gear. You know, we like, riot gear? Y'all can't be serious. Like, let that boy family mourn him.
O.G. Byrne did the unthinkable, calling a face-to-face meeting with Trenton officials.
Bernard Porter was already the established leader of the Sex Money Murder Bloods. He owned it, and then he started to try to wield it, almost like a political power, to say, okay, this is who we are. We have this much manpower. One of our soldiers was killed, and we're gonna stand up and we're gonna honor him, and you're not gonna interfere when we do this.
O.G. Byrne's announcement made headlines. On April 6th, the gang dressed in red, tossing hand signs, they flooded Denver Lane's funeral, pledging their allegiance.
We had the guys come up fully dressed in all red. It was an amazing sight for us to see this.
There was over 1,000 Bloods at that funeral. We all went in, paid our respects. The family let us do our own little thing. We surrounded the casket, filled it up with red bandanas. We just, you know, busting our guns, letting them know that the love was there.
When it was time for the casket to be carried to the exit, the original pallbearers were pushed aside.
Now, he had an American flag over his casket because he was a former Navy officer. And all this media is here. They saw this display, this unity, these guys wearing their colors with the American flag.
And it was only the beginning.
That day catapulted everything to the next level.
Every single street in Trenton had Bloods on it, like literally.
Any given notice, we could just have 400 or 500 homies out in the street shooting up for nothing.
Trenton, New Jersey. T-Town sits between New York City and Philly, making it the perfect hub for the drug trade in the Northeast. And Sex Money Murder rules the area. The gang is known as the #1 money getters, and they flaunt their power.
These dudes were already like gangsters in the hood. When you put it all that together, that was just like, you know, everybody wanted to be around them.
One love to Pistol Pete.
Sex Money Murder pledges allegiance to its infamous founder, Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete would be the godfather. He is the ultimate leader.
In order to be a Sex Money Murder Blood, yeah, you still gotta come under Pete.
Either you beat up or you get beat up, man.
The gang's graffiti is a testament to its Bronx, New York roots.
252 is very big with Sex Money Murder. The 252 represented the building in Soundview. SMM, you'll see Murder Gang or Murda Gang.
Sex Money Murder uses numbers and code words to communicate.
The words change, like go get the ratchets, lock and load, train to go. And that meant they were packing and ready to go out and do what they had to do.
The gang uses the sound of bullets as a warning to victims.
Throw them guns up. Where them guns at?
They also represent with different hand signs.
This is how you throw sex money, murder up. This is one of our gang signs, so you know blood rules like this.
That's the double P's, Pistol Pete. And this is Sex Money Murder. We have a handshake, you know, everywhere you go, they got a way they piece. Each set has one. You know what I mean? We piece probably longer than anybody. We have hours that we started out with, and then we have from all of the places that we traveled to. So we've incorporated most of those into one handshake. You know what I mean? It look fly too.
SMM flies the colors red and green.
Sex, Money, Murder was simply about money, and the green represented money.
A few years ago, it was Sex, Money, Murder's birthday. It was June 6th of 2006. Color of the day was green. Every place that we went into the city, every neighborhood that was affiliated with them, they were wearing green bandanas.
Sex, Money, Murder follows the laws of the United Blood Nation, or UBN.
They pretty much follow the bylaws, which is basically to know these histories, the original founding OGs, what they were in jail for, who was murdered by what set, and then the general 31 rules.
The 13th rule forbids them from talking about gang laws.
I can't give you the specific rules that are the ones you have to follow. I can't do that, but all 31 rules ought to be followed strictly, you know, if you're going to be a blood.
There's also a law that forbids fighting within the gang.
And that's one of the rules. There's no set tripping. But at the same time, you're going to defend yourself. You know what I mean?
The word Bloods stands for brotherly love overriding oppression and destruction of society.
To me, that means a stand-up dude handling his business, you know what I mean? Taking care of your community, providing for your community, not just, you know, being a gang, but all together for a common purpose.
They use a lot of that philosophy, telling them about all the good things about the gang, being part of the community, we'll have your back, you know. By the way, here's a gun, I want you to go down there and shoot your neighbor.
Sex, Money, Murder follows a military ranking system.
They have to follow the structure. They have to listen to orders that is handed down from the OGs to the shot callers, right down through the ranks.
Members rise through the ranks by performing acts known as stain. Stain can be earned by committing a crime or act of violence. The gang claims the symbol of the 5-pointed star. The 5 points stand for body, unity, love, lust, and soul.
So we all had that one bond and unity because, you know, we popped that 5.
Most of their rivals use a 6-pointed star. Sex, Money, Murder has a saying, 5 poppin', 6 droppin'.
This, I'm gonna say 5 popping, 6 dropping. It's like a little blood slang. It's like a disrespectful term. And this is what, you know, Bloods live by, 5 popping.
SMM members sear 3 dots into their skin, forming a dog paw to show they're down.
The dog paw is 3 burns up here on their arms, like a branding, and it represents dogs as they refer to themselves, the Bloods.
Getting into Sex, Money, Murder is all about being willing to do anything to make money.
You're gonna sling your drug, kill your rival gang members, and protect your hood.
Some people worked, some people sold drugs, some people robbed people. There was no set status of how you go get your money.
New recruits must pass tests to prove their loyalty. The first test is a 31-second beating.
And 31-second beatdowns they can be real severe. You know what I mean? And 31 seconds take a long, long time when somebody's beating your ass.
The beatdown is worth it to SMM members.
They surrounded me, you know what I mean? And that was a true test of courage. But I just wanted to continue more and more. I wanted it to be over so I could show them and I could actually begin my duties.
By 2004, sex, money, murder was growing quickly. And Trenton PD started to see mass initiations.
We were running to initiations where we'd find hundreds of individuals in either the projects, on the canal beds, railroad tracks, or whatever. And it wasn't our typical street fight. And it would be multiple individuals getting beaten at a time.
Everything just took a turn. Next thing you know, it has way out of control.
Trenton, New Jersey, 2004. The funeral of Sean Barr, aka Denver Lane, forced the city to address that hundreds of young African Americans were joining gangs.
In 2004, all of the blood stuff was really taking over Trenton as far as like the drug trade and territory is concerned.
The violence between sets began escalating.
They split out from the different neighborhoods and they started to fight over turf.
People started turning on each other for little issues. It's like a Cowboys and Indians mentality. When you run out of Indians to kill, you gotta kill the Cowboys.
Tensions erupted on May 10, 2005, known as Bloody Tuesday. Trenton PD reported 12 separate gang-related shootings in 24 hours.
Our crime scene units were stretched to the max because we had so many multiple shooting areas. Daytime shootouts, cars are being hit, houses are being hit. It was just blatant. Where we weren't, they were. And this went on all day long.
It was just back-to-back shootings constantly. Just war after war, all over.
Sex, money, murder stayed above the fray under the leadership of Bernard Porter, aka OG Byrne.
He didn't have to resort to violence to keep his underlings in line.
Byrne stayed focused on getting even richer.
We had our own little thing going on, and we did what we did, which was get money.
Sex, money, murder began looking to expand its drug enterprise.
It's very much business-oriented, business-minded, and that's the way they worked it, and that's the way they ran it.
SMM decided to cut out the middlemen and buy directly from major suppliers. Byrne turned to his longtime friend, 24-year-old Omar Akins, aka Little O. Little O ran $1 million cocaine business, transporting product from Houston to sex, money, murder in Trenton.
The thing with Omar was that he wasn't in the street. What Omar did was he made a very good living selling drugs. He spread out into legitimate businesses. He owned a jewelry company. He owned a motorcycle racing team.
In exchange for his lucrative contacts, Little O would be given a position of high status.
Omar, by virtue of being friends with the OG, buys his way into sex, money, murder at the rank of capo.
The deal was sealed. SMM already controlled the most lucrative drug territory. Now, the city's biggest supplier was helping run the gang. But SMM's rival, G-Shine, wasn't about to be left out.
Sex, Money, Murder had a lot of the major hustlers in town. So, you know, Shine was really trying to recruit a lot of the money getters too. So it was like neck and neck. Murder and Shine, murder and Shine.
Sex, money, murder, we had that distinct prestige about us that other sets wanted, so that made jealousy and envy come around.
Word spread that Little O had bought his status in the gang.
There was a lot of resentment from these Bloods who were soldiers who were actually putting in work, which then started to bring into question OG Byrne's ability to run that set, because Omar didn't deserve his status because he wouldn't even bust a gun, which is the term they used. He wouldn't even shoot somebody for the gang.
other leaders of sex, money, murder laid down the law. Omar needed to put in work if he wanted to keep his rank.
They wanted him to shoot somebody to prove that he was man enough to bust a gun.
Little O selected his victim, a New York gangbanger who was hiding out in Trenton. On July 27th, Omar and 2 other members of SMM lured the New York gangster to a remote area near a canal.
And what they're actually doing is conspiring to kill him. This is going to be Omar's kill. This is going to be Omar's proof that he's a gangster.
On the bridge of the canal, Omar shot the gangster 4 times with a .22 caliber handgun. Trenton police say 4 prominent members of Sex Money Murder were watching from a distance. One of them was O.G. Byrne. What none of them knew was that Trenton authorities had been conducting surveillance on Sex Money Murder for months. They were working to bring down the gang's drug suppliers, and one person was at the top of their list.
We knew that all the gangs were making their money through narcotic sales. Eventually, the target was decided on that it was going to be Omar Akins.
Wiretaps on Omar's phone revealed the plot to kill the New York gangster.
There were a lot of phone calls looking for that thing, the ratchet, which obviously was a gun.
They made it seem like some of these words was gang codes for us to try to thwart the authorities into believing that we was really trying to, you know, kill somebody.
On August 29th, Trenton authorities brought down the hammer. They charged Omar and 4 other Sex Money Murder members with drug conspiracy and racketeering. Then they slapped Omar and O.G. Byrne with murder charges.
So they started locking up the heads, so they kept it up. They kept hitting racketeering, they kept coming back.
Omar was sentenced to 18 years for aggravated manslaughter. O.G. Byrne pled guilty to conspiracy to commit homicide and was given probation. Trenton PD had finally disrupted Sex Money Murder's cocaine empire. But a new problem erupted on the streets.
Anytime we take down a major drug connect, what we do is we create a power vacuum.
G-Shine wanted Sex Money Murder's territory, but SMM wasn't ready to give it up. March 29th, 2006. SMM member Reginald Jackson, aka Hamburger, cruised G-Shine's territory, throwing single-dollar bills out of his car.
You know, driving through the hood, throwing money out a window, saying you're a bunch of broke, you know, so-and-sos.
G-Shine responded by climbing into a pickup truck and heading to SMM territory.
It was pretty warm out for that time of the year. There was a lot of people out up in the projects up in West Trenton.
Gunfire erupted, and a stray bullet hit 7-year-old Tajanique Lee on her bike.
Is the child inside the house, baby? Okay, the child is inside of 1B? Where did the baby get shot at?
You got to put her in the face somewhere.
They shot her in the face?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. We on the way.
The bullet went through both of Tajanique's cheeks and knocked out teeth. She lost the tip of her tongue, but miraculously survived.
Innocent is innocent in my eyes, but that struck a nerve to every parent out there that, you know, this could happen to my child.
The city's patience with the gang was gone, and Trenton PD prepared to end SMM for good. In just 1 week, they arrested 104 gangsters, but no one would ID the shooters.
No one ever came forward. I think that police may have identified 20 people that were eyewitnesses to the shooting.
The whole city was, in an outrage, like, man, something gotta be done. This is getting out of control.
Trenton, 2006. Police had put away sex, money, murder's biggest names. But without missing a beat, a new generation stepped up.
Sex, money, murder, man. To the death, man.
They say you cut off the head of the snake, the rest will die. Yeah, not in this case. Just somebody else moves up to the head.
They think they crippled the organization. Only thing they did was broke up a structure, but by them breaking up a structure, they created more violence, because now you don't have no guidance of all these wild, I'm not gonna call my homies animals, but these wild homies.
I will put you down for the Blazing Billy, Mo.
The murder ratio got even worse, and the gangs grew, instead of us really containing the situation and being able to control it, because they couldn't. They still can.
In June 2009, a gunfight broke out between Sex, Money, Murder and G-Shine. This time, a 13-year-old girl was killed in the crossfire. Some say the fighting won't stop until everyone is dead. Almighty Blood Messiah says the violence has distracted from the gang's real purpose, making money.
The killings and stuff like that, that's killing the industry, because while the wars was going on, can't nobody hustle. You know what I mean?
Now he's promoting prosperity through an outreach program called Messiah's Hands, Inc.
We do this 15-week business course where we teach life character skills and we teach business skills. I know the people that need help. I'm one of them, and I know what help they need.
But Messiah's not ready to give up his position in the gang.
Being in Trenton, being Sex, Money, Murder, it brings a smile to my face. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love my set. What can I say? I love my set.
If he's advocating to doing something for the community, then why are you with a group that is called Sex, Money, Murder?
Bernard Porter, OG Byrne, is also back on the streets.
We know what he does. We know where he's living.
He's lost a lot of friends, either to the correction system or being murdered. I'm hoping that Bernard, after dodging this bullet and going to jail over a homicide, is maybe going to do the right thing.
In my heart, I'm gonna always be Sex, Money, Murder. It's Pete up till they pull my white sheet up. But I would rather go in a different direction and show a lot of other kids that it's a better way.
He still has plenty of enemies.
Right after he got out of jail, they shot up his house with an AK-47, and he ended up leaving the West Trenton area and staying in a different area of the city.
On August 27, 2009, Byrne's 27-year-old cousin, Anthony, was shot in front of a local laundromat.
My little cousin just got shot and killed right there, and he was a member of Sex, Money, Murder, yeah. And he was right from this neighborhood, right from this area. We did a lot of bad things, you know what I mean? But he just loved his people, his family. So that's what he really stood for. That's what he was trying to protect.
But OG Byrne has no plans to leave Sex, Money, Murder.
I love my town. I love Trenton. I love Trenton. I ain't gonna get it finished up. I'm gonna get the whole street of Stuyvesant, the block where I'm from, and all the side streets around it. So it's gonna be like an aerial view of a map of right where I'm from.
Sex, Money, Murder has risen too far to stop now.
You got all the bitches, all the money, all the cars, you feel me?
You have a lot more younger people, a lot more guns, a lot more heroin on the streets. It's more money.
Pop for murder, pull that trigger, you
sex, money, murder is one of those things that's going to be around for a long time.
Documentary TV.